Good morning. Good morning. Once again, I'm Dr. Barry, and this is my mom, Johnny Lloyd. We have our podcast, Legacy Moments, and today we are going to be talking about cleaning. Thank you so much for being here. If you can hear us, let us know. We have a new setup today, and if we have any technical difficulties, just work with us. But this topic came out of a video that I stitched on TikTok, duetted actually, and then shared across social media. And it really just resonated with a lot of people. And the tips about how to clean when you're drowning, when you feel like everything is just too much and out of control.
The thing about that is so many times in our lives, things are happening and we feel like we're drowning, right? And the key with this book that I really enjoyed was the fact that it was like you choose. It's a choice that you make. And then how do you make some adjustments so that you can make it less problematic, less judgmental, all of that. And that's what I really liked about the book.
All right. And so I do want to go ahead and share a little bit of so Casey Davis is Domestic Blisters over on TikTok, and she has some stuff on YouTube and Instagram, and I wanted to share her TED Talk. And so we are going to pull that up. Hello, Animal Cookie. Hello, Phoenix. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you all are here. So let's go ahead and share this one. And then I'm going to pause at some points. So she is talking about feeling depressed and doing laundry and how she ends up using different tips. She has just had a new child, or she's talking about the planning of having a new baby. She already had one young child and now she's about to have her second, and just everything that ended up coming up through this. So let's watch a little bit of this.
Had just taken a very demanding job that was going to keep him busy, I developed a meticulous postpartum plan for myself. My family would rotate in shifts for the first 60 days. The cleaning crew would come once a month. The new moms group would drop off dinners, and my toddler would go to preschool. I was so proud of this plan, and it ended before it even began. Because February of 2020 is when the COVID lockdowns happened, and all of that support disappeared overnight. In a blur, my days turned into breastfeeding difficulties, toddler meltdowns, and depression. The dishes stayed in the sink for days. The laundry pile reached impressive heights, and there was often not a path to walk from room to room. And when I should have been catching up on sleep, I would lay in bed at night and think to myself, I'm failing. Maybe I'm not capable of being a good mom to 2 kids. I decided to post a joke video.
I was muted. So that statement, I don't know if I can be a good mom to 2 kids, that really resonated, because I've worked with people that after having their second child, or even as a new parent, just all the demands, everything that was on them, truly feeling like they are absolutely drowning. Because I know even for me personally, that first year was the hardest. Every year has its challenges. Every year has its new hurdle, its new thing to overcome. But the sleep deprivation was real, and just all the ups and downs, and then adjusting, because sometimes in your mind you have an idea of, okay, I think this is what this is going to look like. I think this is what it's going to be. And I told y'all we might have some technical difficulties. The camera is like not happy.
It's following people.
It's sometimes we can have things that are too fancy, and that's our situation. That might be.
This is what I love about this right too, is that even though you may not have your second child, even though your situation is different, keep in mind this. At any point in your life, when you add another thing in your life, you can feel like you're drowning. The things that used to work may not work anymore. Just keep that in mind. It's not about just people that have children. It is not just about people at a certain age group. It is everywhere in your life. When you make a huge or a transformational shift in your life, things that used to be simple or your standards before may shift dramatically.
Yeah. And I'm gonna keep going with the video because I do think it's really helpful. There we go.
Powerful.
Yeah.
On TikTok one day about my house turned disaster. Some funny shots of my clutter and my dishes and my enchilada pan to a nice beat. Sort of a laugh to keep from cry situation, surely. And I got a comment.
Sears Garage Solutions offers new garage doors.
Lazy. Yeah, that stung. But I must be a glutton for punishment because I kept posting videos about my messy house. Video after video of all of the weird tips and tricks that I was using to try and get it back in order while managing my feelings of being overwhelmed. And I braced myself for more criticism. But what happened was entirely different. In the comment sections of my videos, hundreds of stories came rolling in. Stories like Amanda, who after losing her baby in the second trimester was standing frozen at her sink because she forgot how to wash dishes.
There are going to be some trigger warnings in this part of the video. And so she is going to mention that an individual that it was so bad, the housework, doing all of that got so bad for them that they got some really severe thoughts. And so just a warning for that one. And then also that warning for child loss.
Stories like Lula, whose chronic health problems and depression made it difficult for her to brush her teeth. Story after story of people with depression, ADHD, autism, burnout, bereavement, all struggling with these daily tasks. And it might seem odd to some of you that someone could struggle with tasks that are so simple. But are they simple? Let's think about what really goes into something like laundry. Everyone picture your laundry pile right now, okay? How many clean clothes do you have left right now? Can you wash tomorrow or must it be today? Do you need to prioritize, pre-sort, pre-treat anything? Did you grow up with anybody that taught you how to do that? You're out of laundry detergent. If you work 3 jobs, when are you going to get to the store next? So if you get there, can you afford it? And if you can afford it, which one you choose? And you get it all home, get it in there. Now pick a setting. Which one? I don't know. Google it. By the way, you have memory problems. So you'll remember that wash in about 3 days when it's mildewed into the washer. It's okay. Just rewash it, okay, and get it into the dryer. You'll forget that too, and it'll wrinkle. Now dry it again. Now all you have to do is get it out and fold it. But also you have 3 small children, and those 3 small children haven't given you a moment alone in quite some time. But when you finally get that moment, you have to decide, are you going to finish the laundry? Are you going to eat a sandwich? Are you going to take a nap? Time's up. You didn't do any of it. You stared at the wall. You have decision fatigue because the burden of carrying a home all by yourself has burnt you out. You see, for some of you, all of the steps and the skills that go into care tasks run on autopilot. But for millions of people, the autopilot is broken. And what's worse, what if you had to do all of that when your mom just died? Or your job just fired you? Or you're using every ounce of strength that you have to just not kill yourself today? If you have access to therapy, it's unlikely your therapist will ever ask you about your laundry.
And I want to pause it real quick because her work and the things that she talks about, it changed the way that I do therapy. And what I do is I check in with my clients on daily hygiene, routines. So, what are some of their struggles? And telehealth kind of helped with some of that because sometimes people would apologize, like, oh, I'm so sorry, because they're logging in from their home and there's so much going on. And they're able to show me, okay, this is what I'm having an issue with today. And we're able to break it down. Sometimes we're able to say, okay, do you need to FaceTime someone so that you can talk to someone as you do it? How, like, just working on some tips to get through those things. Any thoughts you had?
Yeah, sometimes you have to break it down to the ridiculous. Sometimes it's just a matter of like, I am overwhelmed with paper right now. Paper is something I love, and it obviously multiplies and has babies in the private areas of my life, right? So what I did was I said, take 2 sheets of paper and touch them once and fix it, right? Toss it, to review it, to either renew it, to recycle it, make some decisions. But the thing that I think I've had to do when it comes to something like, if I let it go, will I need it? It could be something as far as clothing. It could be something as far as something that you value emotionally or whatever. It's not always easy shifting things around, but this is what I'll say. One of the things I'll say is, in the moment that you are, give yourself grace that you would give someone else.
Yeah.
And I love what Patrice just said. She talked about the fact that because everybody was online, she saw a little bit more. It changed the way she was doing therapy, all of that. I think coming through this pandemic has shifted all of us. We have those cute screens in the back and all that wonderfulness. However, coming and being fully present and fully engaged is really important. So be engaged in your life right now in this moment.
All right. And I like that she gives practical steps. And so, just in case, I did want to share her book. And it is here. It is How to Keep House While Drowning, a gentle approach to cleaning and organizing. And within it, she breaks down, because often people try to clean, organize, and sort all at the same time, or declutter. They try to do all of those things all at the same time. And she breaks it down to, okay, first, if my goal is to get cups, I'm just going to walk around to all the rooms and just get all the dirty dishes and bring them in like a bucket, bring them to one place. Because now I've checked, I've done that task. I forget if I cut off the part where she talks about having ADHD herself. I think the fact that I think because she looks at things different, and she was open to different ideas and different things, because often we're battling the shoulds that we put on ourselves, the shoulds that family put on us, or we're battling all these other things. There is another great book called Fair Play, especially for people who are partnered, who have roommates, where you're able to break down the task of, okay, so who's going to do the lawn? Like, just because sometimes we can assume that one person is going to do everything, and it really has some great ways to break things down. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then we will continue to chat. If you all have questions, please let us know, but let's finish this part.
I've worked in mental health for about a decade. I've been in therapy even longer. And the only time I ever had a provider talk to me about things like cooking and cleaning and brushing my teeth was when I was in a psych hospital as a teenager. Yet here were hundreds of thousands of people in my comment sections telling me that these daily care tasks were a major pain point in their life. And so I started to wonder, what if we started here? What if we started with these care tasks? Could making daily tasks easier improve mental health quicker? In the 2 years that I've been posting and writing about the intersection of mental health and care tasks, I've come up with a philosophy that does just this. And it all starts with one simple idea. Cooking, cleaning, laundry. It doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. Listen to me. Care tasks are morally neutral.
I love that.
I want
I love
to pause it again there, because so often, especially if you're raised with any type of like Christian or faith, sometimes you're trained that cleanliness is next to godliness, which kind of assumes that if your house is dirty,
You're not.
that you're not doing God's will, or that you're like far from, I don't know, like sometimes there's an additional religious component as well, where it's like care tasks. Just because someone has a clean home does not mean that they're a good person. Just because a person can, clean, wash dishes, and do all those things all in the same day, it does not mean that they are more successful than someone who is struggling with those tasks. And taking that approach, giving that to myself, and then communicating those things to my clients, and then, of course, to you all here, like it complete, because sometimes the shoulds, the because you can get into this downward spiral where you don't have the energy to do the things, you don't have the motivation to do the things, you beat yourself up about not doing the things, which then gives you less motivation and energy to do the things, which then makes you feel worse, and it just
It's a
snowballs.
bad cycle.
It just continues in a cycle versus today, I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna do what I have the energy for. I'm gonna do what absolutely has to get done. So if my child is out of underwear, like, I'm okay, laundry, that's something that I'm gonna have to do today. But I might not get to the dishes. I might not get to some of these other things. And so did you want to say something about that part?
Yeah, the thing, I like the word morally neutral. Neutrality is like this. It's not good or bad, like Patrice was just saying. However, it's a mental mindset that we have to put on, right? Care task is about, first of all, let's talk about how much we care about us, our peace of mind. And then not blaming, shaming other people or ourselves. The other thing she mentioned I want to address is making sure we communicate. Communication in this is really key, because if you're in the house with someone else, or even communicate with yourself. There was a week, last week actually, last week I just kept on piling on the dishes, and then I said, well, you have 20 more plates you can use. I mean, but I said, and somebody walking in might have said, what's wrong, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. However, I'm in the thick of something else, and I'm doing what I need to do, or what I think is most important in this moment. So I had to communicate with myself. If I was married or in a relationship with someone, I would communicate that with them. And if it was an issue for them, I'd let them pick it up.
Exactly.
Because, hey, baby, if you want to wash dishes, go for it. However, I'm doing this other stuff over here. And that way there's no judgment regarding that too. So remember to keep it morally neutral. You must have saw something good.
So Phoenix had seen this before, but wasn't sure how sound it was. And so implementing these things. So I have some clients that get to the point where they're like, I haven't brushed my teeth in 3 months at all, because just the depression, the overwhelm, everything is so much, and they're honest about that. So what we do is we talk about just putting those disposable whisks. Like, there are some things that they're in a place where they can't afford, because sometimes some of these things you have to financially, because like the little disposable toothbrushes can be more expensive than just. So if my client had more financial difficulties, what I would do is I would say, keep toothbrush and toothpaste in your drawer at work or in your purse. So whenever you get the urge to do it, you have it with you, versus having to remember to do it first thing in the morning and get the kids off to school and make sure that, and so instead of everything piling on in the morning. And so I love that. Let's keep going. I really think this is powerful, and I wanted to talk with y'all about this.
Now, I know that if you've been watching Martha Stewart for decades and scrolling the perfect Pinterest aesthetic every day, that it can feel like struggling with these tasks is a moral failure. Like it's because we're lazy, or we're irresponsible, or we're immature. But having an organized closet doesn't make you a success. And living out of a pile of laundry on the floor doesn't make you a failure. You know where the shirt you want to wear is. It might take you a bit of sifting to find it.
So my mother knows this. You all do not know this. I live out of piles. Dr. Patrice Berry, so when I clean my laundry, I hang up my son's clothes, and my clothes, I pick them up in a pile, and they go in a spot in my walk-in closet. Like, so I have a space for the dirty ones. So my dirty clothes go in the hamper, or they go right in front of, I have like a mirror. I know where my dirty clothes are, but my clothes all the time go right on the floor. Now, if I get mad, so I like to clean when I'm mad. Like there's something about just, or if I'm feeling like my life is out of control, sometimes organizing my closet that can just help me think. It can help me shift. A friend of mine is working on a book, and she was talking about how in the middle of writing her book, sometimes she'll have to stop and clean and organize something so that she can continue with the book. And I was like, I get that, because my brain, I'll be sitting there trying to write and my brain will be like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And sometimes doing those things just helps. But if somebody doesn't have the space to do it, I love talking about the fact that just because you don't hang up your clothes, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. Now for parenting, because this often comes up with parents, and kids nowadays are dealing with more mental health struggles than I've ever seen before. And it's not only because of the internet, it's not only because of these things. Like there's a lot going on in the world. I think a part of it is we have to help them feel safe in our world. So I've worked with so many people recently where one of the parents' biggest fears was human trafficking, and that is a real concern. And at the same time, I I have to find a way to, if my environment is safe, to live in that safe world. And the reason why I say that is because we can sometimes watch so much news. So I watch a lot of crime TV, like I watch a lot of crime stuff. And this past weekend, my son, we went for a bike. So he was on his bike, I was walking, and he went around the corner and I couldn't see him. And for a minute in my brain, it was like, what if somebody takes him? Like that's where like the brain just goes automatically. But he was safe. He was totally fine. We did talk about not to turn corners. He's only 6 years old, and we realized he didn't know what a corner, like when I was like, stop at the corner, he didn't know like
That was a corner.
what I meant by stopping at the corner. And so it's thank you for letting me go on these tangents, but we will keep going.
The truth is, it's not about morality. It's about functionality. Does your home work for you? Not some hypothetical house guest that is coming to inspect your closet. I mentioned Amanda, who had lost her baby and forgot how to wash dishes. She told me that when her husband would go to work, she would lay on the floor next to the empty crib and say to herself, what can I bring to my family if I can't even wash dishes? But that changed when she began to see care tasks as morally neutral. All of a sudden, the dishes in the sink weren't representations of her failure as a wife, but instead she would look at the pile and think to herself, what do I need to function tomorrow morning? And then pull 2 coffee cups out of the pile to wash. She had her coffee the next morning, and it was a little bit easier to get up off the floor. When we liberate ourselves from the idea that we are a good person or a bad person with care tasks, we can stop thinking about the right way to do things, about the way that things should be done, and instead start thinking about what we can do with our current barriers.
And there are lots of people that sometimes think that is excuse, because she gets horrible comments. We are mutuals on TikTok, and I see her sometimes responding to people's comments. And so I have a totally different approach. When people leave mean comments, if it's done in a criticizing, like if it's done in a horrible, I just delete it. But I don't let them go back and forth, because somebody recently left a negative comment about one of my subscribers, and so I did delete that one. But I don't respond to those things. It's just not good for my own personal mental health. But for her, she often uses it to teach a lesson when people are saying these things, when people do think these things. If you're interested, I have that full video linked. I think there's something you want to say.
Well, actually, what I was going to say was this, is that I love the part that she keeps on hitting on morality. And the thing that people think about is this me? Don't connect the task, the function, the things that are in our life to who we are. And I'm going to use a better example. Sometimes that identifies your self-worth.
Yeah.
People will take things and say, because of A, then I am not or my self-confidence because this is happening that I'm not. No, those are not who you are. They're what you do. They're things that happen in your life, even things that we purchase and all of that. That is not who we are. We're at a deeper level. So when we find peace in any place that we are, that is so valuable for us as well as others.
Yes. And that peace part, because and what it looks like for one person, it might not look the same for somebody else. And then also, so I think what she was encouraging that mother to do was to give herself space to grieve. And if for right now to just get through the day, if she just needed to do 2 coffee cups and that made it easier to just move through her day, then okay.
And I love the way she said it. She said, "What do you need for tomorrow?" And hear this at a deeper level. The deeper level for me is this. She was having her look be forward
Yes.
thought, forward thinking.
Mhm.
I know where you are right now, but think forward. And by thinking forward, that's going to give you an element of hope, peace, and all of that. And it also gives her the 2 coffee cups. Like, okay, I can have coffee in the morning.
And yet not thinking too far forward,
Right.
because that can be overwhelming when you're in that type of state. So thinking a week down, she probably couldn't have done
No.
what do I need in a week, but just what do I need tomorrow morning. And I do want to share, so check out the rest of that series. It was really great. I have it linked down in the description. Then I wanted to share this
This is
short.
so cool.
And the full video, I have so I don't know, but it's on Mel Robbins' podcast. She was a guest. Casey Davis was a guest on Mel Robbins' podcast, and I'm just gonna play this clip.
Laundry and I see it as evidence there's something wrong with me that I can't get the laundry done.
I signed up to make sure that my family always has clean clothes. I did not sign up to make sure they never have dirty ones. We're used to going, is the laundry done or is it not done?
Oh,
Your laundry exists in a cycle. You have clothes that are clean in the closet. You have clothes that are on your body. You have clothes that are dirty on the floor. You have clothes that are dirty in the hamper. You have clothes that are dirty waiting to go in the wash. You have some in the wash. You have some there. That's a cycle. It's okay for any of it to be in that cycle. And you are not morally obligated to line up every care cycle in your home at the done state at the same time. The key is, how do I learn to turn all of these cycles at a pace where it's functional?
probably not the only.
Priceless.
So that one's starting out with the fact that it's not my job to make sure that my family doesn't have dirty clothes. Like it was like it makes but like so those are things that you know in your head, but sometimes you feel like, oh, because as soon as you wash clothes, if your family did, like, they're gonna be dirty clothes that day. Like, not even like there are always gonna be some clothes that are dirty. There are going to be some clothes that maybe need to be folded. Now, there are some people that will be able to easily line those things up in the done state. Perfect. That's great for them. Because on that video in the comments, I forget if it was on Insta, but it was somewhere on one of my social medias. Somebody was like, "Oh, but I can't fold them." And it's like, do they need to be folded? So I like my clothes either on the floor or hanging up. Like those are the 2 places my clothes normally are.
And believe it or not, she's always been like that. I can't explain it, but yeah. This is the other thing about that though, is I'm a person that likes systems. I'm really I'm right brain, left brain, all brain thing. But on my right brain, when the analytical part is it in the system, right? And so I love the way they explain it. It's somewhere in the system. The question may be where, but it is somewhere in the system. So as long as it's within the system is functioning appropriately so I can breathe. Now, when I get to the point where I need to either buy underwear
Yes, go
or
wash. I'm gonna
wash, I'll wash.
Mm.
Sometimes I buy, but I'll wash. I'll wash them. Seriously, I'll wash them. However, I don't get to that point because I know where the drawer is. So I have 3 left. So I said, okay, it's time to wash. this is the deal, to give yourself the flexibility in all of your functions to do that, everywhere in your home to do that, that not looking for perfect as being the goal. And if one thing is out of place, then that puts you on an imperfect mantra. And then, it attaches it to you, and it then the judgment and criticism and all of that comes. The thing about it is we have to remember that we have negative self-talk
Yeah.
a lot anyway as human beings, right? We don't need something as like a function of cleaning or care function or care to add to the negative self-talk. To control that is really powerful. The reason I love this is like Mel Brooks sat there and she said, "Oh my gosh, it's right. It's in the cycle." And when I saw it, I said, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about it's in the cycle. The cycle is functioning appropriately."
Because often people put it on this done or not done. And often a lot of things will be in the not done. And so for me, it really COVID helped reshift this because I wasn't really like I would normally try to have the dishes done before I went to bed at night. But there were some nights that I just didn't have it. It was just my sleep was more important than those 2 or 3 dishes. Like it was just more important that way. And being able to communicate with your partner as well, I think that can be helpful. And then if you have children, seeing what appropriate chores they can do. So something that I do when my son's toys, he likes to put them in every single room of the house. When it gets to that point, it's like, all right, before you watch TV, you need to clean up. And he's like, okay. And he'll go, instead of me being like, oh, now it's my job to put his, no, he put the toys all, and sometimes he'll be like, "Mommy, help me." And I'll be like, "I will as soon as do you want to help me with the dishes?" And he's like, "Nope. All right, go on ahead and you clean while I do the dishes." And so just setting those boundaries with people, I think that can be really important. And so Phoenix brings up a good point. And so there are some people that do have obsessive compulsive disorder where a mess, it does bring up things for them. Or there are people that were raised in a home maybe with hoarders or like with severe hoarding, or where things were so disruptive it was not safe. And so for some people, they don't feel safe when things aren't clean, and that's a whole other, like that is a whole other situation. I do still think that being gentle with yourself, that there's not something wrong with you if something is dirty. And then in therapy, so with obsessive compulsive disorder, we normally, because there's a part of us that sometimes knows that if there's one dirty dish in the sink, that doesn't mean that my house is a mess, but it can feel that way. And so sometimes working with a therapist to like gradually challenge, and it's being incredibly uncomfortable. So I have a whole series on anxiety. I used an AI to pull out. So some of the shorts that y'all have seen have been like from the AI. It was fun playing around with that. But with anxiety, it's about challenging that discomfort. Were you gonna say something?
No, I'm good. I love it.
Nice. Yeah. And so Phoenix mentioned, so often I see that a lot where somebody develops this obsessive traits after with living with a parent that was a hoarder, because things truly were, because there was probably trash. There was probably, when it's at a severe level, it things smelled like things do get to a place where it might not have been safe, but just any level of trash can sometimes bring up that earlier feeling of being unsafe that's not about this present moment. And that's where working with a therapist or working, there's some OCD workbooks, there are some different things, but working on those things, because it's trauma doesn't know time. And what I mean by that is I can be in this moment. And so it wasn't a bad earthquake, and it didn't bring up any trauma. But if things started to like feel uncomfortable, it might bring up that memory of when I was in an earthquake and didn't know what was happening. Books started falling off, and we did the wrong thing, because in an earthquake, you're not supposed to go outside. Like we like everybody, because I just looked around and everybody in the library just went outside. Like that's what. So I just like, what do we do? I'm in Virginia. We don't get earthquakes, and so years ago. And I'm using a neutral kind of something that wasn't traumatic, just to kind of talk about it. But if I was in a similar uncomfortable situation, that thought, that memory might come back up. Trauma memories don't get stored in our they don't get stored properly, and that's where reprocessing some of those things. And it's often the sensations, the smells, the things you see, what you hear, that is often a lot more triggering sometimes, and what you feel, that can bring up a lot of trauma stuff. So, but yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. The other thing is, I just want to reiterate a couple of things. One was to get help.
Yes.
One was to set boundaries. And those things are so critical, because when you get help or you set boundaries, that makes all the difference. Like, he has to go and he made the mess, holds him accountable, right? So he gets a chance to go and fix it, and you don't pick up the responsibility. There are some parents and some people, other people are making the uniqueness look in your home, in your space, in your whatever, right? But you, for whatever reason, and it's not good or bad, for whatever reason, you feel like it's totally your responsibility to go and fix it after it's been, everything is done. Same thing. I remember we had to pick up our own plate when we finished dinner. I can remember going to people's house, and they would sit down. The plate was brought to them. They ate. They put their stuff down, and they got up and left. And then the parent, usually the mother, went back in and cleaned everything up. And that was considered normal. That is not normal in my home. That's not normal. You know what I'm saying? Now, do I get a chance to serve? Absolutely. Do I get a chance to do other things? Absolutely. Will I cook for 3 days? Absolutely. However, we all need to clean up. And I think that's powerful.
And that's something that we've done in our family, where whoever, if some people have been cooking most of the day, then normally people step up to help clean up. And there are people that enjoy doing it all. Sometimes I wonder if that's out of a place of showing their love for their family by doing, or if that's out of a place of needing to kind of perform. And I always just kind of wonder if that's coming from a 100% healthy place, because I do think having healthy boundaries. Now, there are some people that they want it done their way, and so they're going to do it.
And that's good.
And
if it's only your way. Yeah. And the other thing is, how do you feel afterwards?
Yeah.
Because like after I cook or whatever I'm doing, right, I feel this sense of, wow, I enjoyed it, right? If I felt this sense of ungratitude, dis-ease, then it would be something, well, you might not want, I might want to check the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, or how do I do it in such a way that I feel happy about the end results and the process. Now, does that mean that everything I do in the process, every time I clean up, I'm going to be happy? No. That's not what that means. And does that mean that everything is always perfect? Right now, in my bedroom is a space that's typically really pretty decent. Well, I had to empty a bunch of stuff out of my bathroom, and I didn't realize how much wonderfulness I had in there. And notice I said wonderfulness. That was a
kind ways.
What in the world?
There was a lot.
It was a lot. So I brought it all out. I had to put it in my bedroom, right? Because I'm having some work done in there. So right now, I had to mentally say, you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to see this interestingness over here. Don't let it trigger you. It is temporary. It is temporary. It is with purpose, because you're going to get this other stuff done. And once that is done, you get a chance to go through all of this and determine what you're going to keep. So sometimes when you look at disorganization or things of that magnitude, things are not the way you desire them to be in the moment. What is the purpose? Are you going through stuff to get rid of it? What is your purpose? And this is the last thing I'm going to say regarding this. I function better for organization when sometimes I have to go in and clean off my desk.
Yeah.
Because my brain is like scattered because my desk looks scattered. So what is the thing that you do that produces the results that you desire
Mhm.
without putting any kind of negativity on you about it?
I love that. And I try to turn my shoulds into I want to. So instead of I should have washed the dishes, it's like I want to wash the dishes. I should have done this. I should have done that. And I picked that up. So that's not something I came up with. It's something I've seen on social media. Probably learned it up probably picked it up somewhere. I don't I think you heard it from someone too. I could be wrong. But turning shoulds into I want to, so that I'm not shoulding all over myself. Like that's a real thing. And then also communicating. So as a person, sometimes you're like, you want the people that love you to see what you need and to do it.
That's good.
Like, don't you see? Don't y'all
I
see?
need help.
Like, but you have to ask for it. Like, that'll help you be so, like, you won't be as frustrated if now in the moment it can feel frustrating having to ask, but actually getting that need met, to me, versus doing it mad like, oh,
Mhm.
none of these people ever do any, just ask. Just ask for some support, set up a schedule, set some boundaries, and remember, boundaries are about what you're willing to do. Limitations, so I don't tell my child, oh, clean up when you're ready. No. Like, it's like, okay, before you watch TV, clean up, because he wants to watch TV, so he's going to clean up. But if I gave him the choice, hey, you could either not, I don't know, like, if but he would never choose to clean. He just wouldn't. Were you gonna
That
say
is
something?
no, I love that. I love that. Giving
Mm.
them the choice and giving them something that a choice that where you win, where you get what you desire, right? What you desire. And the thing I'll say for me, I used to wear I call Superwoman cape. And so the cape was I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything. I would do it all myself, right? So I learned that that is not a healthy place to be
Because
for me.
I picked that up too, because I saw my mom do that. I saw her do everything. So she raised me as a single parent. I have help. And so I really respect all that she did. And there is this there, because somebody asked me to talk about it, because there was a study that showed that single women had more time and sleep.
Oh, we should talk about
I
that.
know that's a whole other,
That's a
but
whole
what it was really about was the expectations that are put sometimes in heterosexual married relationships, where even if someone is partnered, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have less work to do, or
That's
that they have more help with parenting. And it was also about finances as well, because did the person have the finances to pay to get help with different things. But if y'all have topics that y'all would like for us to cover, please let us know. And Phoenix, I thought it was adorable because you said that you're like my mom and can't function in disorganization. And so what she had to do was she let me have my room. So my room has always been messy. Okay. Now I have it in my closet because I'm partnered and I share a room, but I have my when we looked at our house, I knew I needed my own closet. I had shared a closet with my husband for I think a few years, and I was just like, no, I need my own closet. So I have my closet where the door shuts and I can do whatever happens in there. That's between me and my clothes. My son used to come in and he would dive into my clothes. He would have so much fun in my closet. But uh but what she would do as a parent was, if I wanted to go somewhere, I knew I needed to clean my room before I asked her to go somewhere. And something else that she did was she figured out what motivated me. So I have never been motivated by criticism or like shame or talking. I don't think anyone is, but that's a whole other conversation. Because so if she came home mad about how the house looked, I've had decent emotional boundaries. It didn't make me feel bad for her. didn't make me
She's
feel
like,
bad about
I
what
can't
I had
see,
done.
whatever, you gonna clean it,
No,
Like,
you would make me clean it.
yeah, but it was like, okay,
So,
whatever.
and we've talked about it on here before, but not in this context. So when my mother came home, she would need to find something wrong because I'm not perfect. Like something is going to be out of place. It just is. And so what I did, so this was before, I think I was in high school. And so I started doing this in like middle school and high school.
No.
When I came home, I would enjoy my day. I would enjoy my time and I would try to clean up. Like I would try to pick up after myself. But then she would come home and she would be like, "Why didn't you wipe out the microwave? Why didn't you wipe off the counter? I told you to clean the kitchen. Why didn't you?" And so I was just like, so what I would do is I wouldn't try at all. Like I would come home and there would be little breadcrumbs. Like you
can find her. You can follow everywhere Patrice has been based on what she had left behind. I'm serious. I knew what she had, especially if it was weekend or
Snacks.
whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I knew every snack she had because she left the
Left
stuff right
everything
there.
out.
She left everything out. However, parents, now here what we're about to talk about, because this is really important. Whether you're a parent or you in a relationship or whatever you're doing, when you don't come in and see the good that has happened, and all you see is what has not occurred, it does not incentivize most people. So what she did was she said she gonna fuss regardless. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come in. I'm not gonna do jack. And then she said, then she'll only have 4 things to do. I would have done maybe 5 if she hadn't said nothing. So this is the thing. There's certain things that don't incentivize our, whether it be children or whatever, and don't incentivize us to come in, and because of where I was coming from and what I was dealing with, I would come in and smear that same vibration in my house. I would be at that level in my house. So I would always see the things that were not correct.
Yes.
And when you are that judgmental externally, hear me.
Yes.
When you're that judgmental externally, trust me, you are that judgmental internally.
I like the word critical or judgmental. Like that you're judging it, that you're being very, very critical. And
critical.
What I told her one day, and I'm so glad that we had a relationship where I could be honest, because she was like, "Patrice, what's going on with this? Why do you keep doing this?" And it was like, I was like, can I tell you? And she was like, yeah, tell me.
This is what she said. Do you really want
to know? And she was like, yeah, tell me. I was like, when I try, it's still wrong. And so when you come home and the first thing you tell me is all the stuff I did wrong, I have no motivation to do anything good. And then if I don't do anything at all I have to do is what you saw. I don't have to do anything extra. She's not worried about cleaning out the microwave or wiping off the So what she did was she would come home and she'd be like, "Oh, Patrice, good job cleaning up after yourself. Oh, I can see you wash the dishes. Thanks. Make sure to wipe off there's some grease on the stove. Make sure to wipe off the stove." Okay,
when you get a chance or whatever. Okay. Now, Patrice ain't gonna tell you. Patrice lived in a home. The whole back of the house was nothing but windows.
This was in Germany.
Yeah. And every floor in the house was marble.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It wasn't our home. We were renting.
However, this is the kind of lifestyle that she had.
I didn't.
Right. So I'm thinking,
but this was normal.
No. This was her. This wasn't normal. This was her normal. So I'm like, and hear me, y'all.
Yeah.
I was saying, she is so ungrateful.
Aww.
In my head, because I was dealing with people all day that were ungrateful.
Bringing it home.
I was bringing it home. It had nothing to do with Patrice. It really didn't have anything to do with her. So be careful when we come in and we look at the cycle of what's not happening. When the things that are not occurring, make sure that we look at it from a place of calmness and say, you know what needs to be done? What do I need?
I want you to think about this. So what helped, and I'm going to answer for me first.
Okay.
But what helped you put down the Superwoman cape? So for me, it was, I looked okay, but I was depressed and anxious. So I looked fine. It looked like I was doing everything and I had it all together and things were fine, but I was dying inside. I'm not, but like I was not in a okay or a healthy place. And that's when I got my own therapy. It was incredibly helpful because there were other things going on. Because often when you're trying, because sometimes you're trying to overcompensate for areas in your life that you're not happy with. And so I was trying to control this part and trying to be like a good wife. And I was trying to do all these things. And it just got to a point where I just couldn't. And I didn't have great boundaries around time,
Mm.
around I did think, "Oh, like, my partner should just know." And no, like, they're not gonna just know. Just like I won't just know whatever he needs.
Yeah, mine, I put it down. I started. Let me start where I started putting it down because where I was working at the time, when the guy met me, and we ended up being friends. He said you're nothing like I thought you were. He said when I first met you and you came in the room and you were carrying all this stuff in, I said, "Dang, she been married 5 times. She's been beaten. She's been." He said she has been abused. She is mean. He said because you were you were so hard. However, I had learned how to be that hard because when I came in, I was the one that was responsible for everybody. I was responsible for life, for what was happening in the room, and I took all of those responsibilities and I put them on my shoulder, right? So when I ended up walking into a different scenario where I didn't need that, then and it wasn't a positive from a positive perspective, and somebody cared enough or didn't care how I felt about it. He said, "You want me to tell you something?" And he told me. And then at that point, I went and got some assistance.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what was the things that I had brought on. What were the things? Because I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be a better person for me. I'm not talking about in a relationship. I'm not talking about,
No.
I needed to be the best person I could be for me because it is too much work to carry everybody on your shoulders, to be responsible for everything all the time, anytime. It's just not healthy. It's just not healthy.
You were going to break mentally, physically,
Everything.
in every kind of way. And I think there was a period of time. So if we were in the 50s, the 20s, like if it was the 1950s, 20, like if it was a different time, that might have been required to survive that time. I don't think that cape is required for most people to survive in this time. Now, if they're in an unsafe environment, then the first goal is always to get safe. Because to me, within safe relationships, I'm able to set boundaries and not be punished for it. So I have worked with clients where there would be emotional or there would be some type of unsafe situation if the house wasn't clean enough. But that's an unsafe situation. So in safe situations, I should be able to set boundaries. There shouldn't be a huge issue if I left a few dishes in the sink. And so that's because sometimes what we need to survive isn't what we need to thrive.
Yeah. And the thing that I keep on is say this is that sometimes it is what we learned from someone else. It is the faith that we came up in. Like what she just said earlier about, cleanliness is next to godliness. I want to say they preached that across the pulpit. The church I was saying
That was
they
church.
preached that was church.
Oopsie.
However, this is what I had to do. I had to remember who I was, right? And I'm going to say this. I don't believe the cape is needed anymore. And if I had the same knowledge and understanding that I had right now in this moment, and I could go back to that time and still come out to be the strong person that I am, I would tell people back there, you don't need it. It's how somebody asks you, what would you tell a younger version of you?
But I do
Put
think
down the cape.
I do think it was needed earlier on. So I think if you hadn't had the cape, I don't think like when you were working in the government or when you were a single mother or like early on, I think there was a
That's a good
time
point.
when it was needed.
But coming back home, but let me tell you where it wasn't
Yeah,
needed.
home.
I needed it in the building,
Yes.
right? Because I was the only one of this color and this gender that was sitting at the table in places of power and authority, and I had to show up like they was showing up, right? However, when I went home, I needed to know how to be more gentle at home. You know what I'm saying? I could have taken the cape off when I got in the car.
Okay.
You know what I'm
All right.
saying? However, this is what I'll say. I'm not mad at any of it, and I hope that you're not either. And the reason I'm saying that is everything that happened then has allowed me to become the person that I am today. And others are going to learn because of the things that we did wrong, because of the things that we would have adjusted, because of us being authentic, honest, and truthful in this very moment.
Yeah. And someone mentioned getting upset when they lose track of things and that they try to keep track of everything and it being exhausting. And so figuring out so I misplace my keys all the time. And so sometimes having places for things. So I try to keep my keys in like one of 2 or 3 places. My husband keeps them always in like one place, but like that's just, he's a creature of habit. I am not. So, but the one thing I do is, because I used to have a bad habit of locking myself out of my office. It hasn't happened in years because what I do is I make sure that before I lock the office door that I have my keys with me. And so doing what you need and so I had to develop a mantra and I heard it other places that everybody makes mistakes. And that's something that I say for myself. So, will I lose something? Yes. I try to make sure it's nothing too big. I just realized I don't have my wedding ring on. It's at home somewhere. Like I it's in one of 2 or 3 places. Like I said, like I know. And then also sometimes if I lost something, I told y'all about the story about when my son hid my phone. Like sometimes it's somebody else has what I was supposed to have. And I don't make myself responsible for other people's things. So like my child, he didn't bring his lunchbox home. And we were pretty sure because like I said, I keep things in certain places. He didn't have it. We have an extra. And so like, cause I'm not a Ruby Frankie. I am going to send my child she's the worst. I am going to send my child to school with a lunch. This camera, we're going to have a different camera next week.
It's having its own little life.
I talk about letting go of control and like every 5 minutes, I'm like, I need it to be centered. Why won't it be centered? But yes. And so we get to practice what we preach. But things sometimes are good enough. And for my own peace, good enough. I do what I can. And I know that I can't do everything. And like, and then if people have ADHD, if they're neurodivergent, there are going to be things that are just, their brain might work a little different and they might need some extra help organizing, some extra help creating some of that structure or creating some of those habits. And so
yeah. So I because I'm the person I am, I found some things that could help us in this area. So as a couple, we talked about the shared responsibility, open communication, declutter together, whether that be as a family or whatever, and to organize, right? To find storage abilities to put things in the places you desire them to be. Then for singles, I said, do the one touch rule. I love this rule. One touch, one and done. Whatever I'm touching, especially if I have a lot of paper, and I do, I said, okay, today you're going to do the one touch rule. You're going to pick it up, you're going to handle it, and you're going to let it, and you're going to release it. So it's done. And then regular maintenance on things. I'm going through some of that. And then I'm not going to say I don't embrace minimalism.
We both like stuff. So my husband does. So my husband, because he's about to get rid of some stuff again. And I did say, because our son is going to be really tall, and I was like, he could probably wear my husband's stuff by the time he's 10 or 11, because my husband has like some nice cashmere sweaters and stuff. And so I'm like, hey, don't get rid of those. I might want those for our son later. But for him, it's easier for him to keep track of maybe 4 or 5 shirts, or just a few pair of pants and just a few pair of shoes. I like stuff.
I
I
like
do.
stuff.
I like
Okay.
stuff.
She got it honestly. And then I'm going to say for professionals, outsource task, because I help professionals all the time. So find out what you can do and then outsource some other things. So that would give you the time to do the things that you desire, maybe that you enjoy. Then go ahead.
So this is my first time talking about this here. So I tried Factor meals. I know. And there are different, there's Mighty Meals, but Factor is owned by HelloFresh. This is not sponsored at all. I tried to get them to I reached out like, hey, will y'all give me a discount code or something? They didn't. It is what it is. But I've personally liked it. If people have the resources to get some type of meal delivery service, I don't like to cook. So I don't like to cook. I don't like to clean. It's made things easier for myself. I tried one for my son because he wasn't trying new foods. I tried Nurture Life. We didn't like a lot of those. So I think he only liked a few of those meals, but he did try some things that he had never tried before. And so often there are coupon codes and things available for a lot of those things. But
I like
yes.
that. I like that. And that's the other thing. Give yourself grace. To get done what you desire done, and when someone else can do it more effective, more efficient, and timely, and give you what you want. And the thing I liked about Factor, because I tried it too, and I stopped it, but the reason I stopped it is it doesn't work for me at this time because I have a lot going on. So the food was so good.
Like
it was so good.
For my husband, it wasn't enough food. So the calories typically range between like 500 and 800. So like for my husband, it wasn't enough food for him. He didn't like it.
So, but for me, it was wonderful. And then the other thing is to delegate some things, to delegate them, right? And then for the boomers, such as me, consider downsizing when that makes you happy. If that makes you happy, I'm looking for more space, but other people looking for less space. So do you. And then make sure that you have whatever it takes to help you remember what you need to remember.
I love that. And so thank y'all so much. Karen mentioned that she picked up her HelloFresh at the door. If anybody did want to try Factor, sometimes they send me free coupon codes. DM me on Instagram and I can send you a picture. And I don't get anything for it. Like the free box, I don't get anything for that. And so, but if anybody wants that, just DM me there. If you've never signed up before, because it's only for new users. You have to cancel it because they will charge your card.
No lie.
So I'm now at a place where I'm gonna order it every 2 weeks and freeze the meals. I'm gonna do it like Auntie does it. I like that because it was just more paying for shipping every week, and so. But I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.